Have you ever made the horrible mistake of taking back a guy after giving him another chance only to have him treat you worse when you give him the second chance? What if I told you it's actually possible to spot the exact type of guy who will come back into your life and make it a nightmare once again? On today's show, we're going to be discussing why you should never take a man back if he does these 5 very specific things. That way you never waste valuable years of your life on a guy who didn't even care enough about you to do it right the first time. Number 1 is the accountability avoidant. There are certain elements to someone's character and the way that they treat you and the way that they approach a relationship that is just not going to work. We talk about a lot, what do you want and what are you looking for? What is important to you? Even though you're the woman in the relationship, and even though, yes, quote unquote, your man is supposed to lead, that doesn't mean you allow any random stranger man to lead you off of a cliff because he has no idea where he's going either. That's not how that works. You need to also approach your relationships with intention, knowing what you're looking for, so that you can quickly identify in guys if they are what you're looking for or if they're not. This accountability avoidant trait is not a trait where you say to yourself, oh, this might just be something where maybe it's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, but I can work with it and I can, deal with it. I'm here to tell you all of these character traits, personality traits, and approaches are big deals. So when you're in a relationship with a guy and it doesn't work out, or in a situationship for some of you, and it doesn't work out, and he comes back to you ready to be with you for whatever reason, or for his second chance, his third chance, his 85th chance, you need to be recognizing if he possesses any of these character traits, nothing is going to work out. Don't even bother yourself. So when I talk about accountability avoidant, is guys that will come back into your life or attempt to come back into your life and specifically avoid having to take accountability for whatever it is that they did to you. So let me give you an example of that. A guy that you were talking to, he just never plans dates with you. He never wants to take you out. He never even takes this relationship seriously. All he does when he contacts you and talks to you is he texts you and asks you to come over whenever he needs you. Aside from that, he doesn't speak to you. Aside from that, he doesn't check in on you. Aside from that, he doesn't try to hold any sort of conversation with you unless it's to ask you to come over to his place and for him to jackrabbit himself inside of you for 90 seconds or less. And so then you say to yourself, well, I can't work with this and I can't be in a relationship with this. This is too painful for me because I expect princess treatment and I expect you to be intentional about our relationship, and I'm not just going to be coming over here and watching Netflix with you all the time. Let's just say you grow a backbone, a spine, and you decide I deserve better than this and I'm going to cut this guy off. What he's going to do is when he tries to weasel his way back into your life, rather than actually coming to you and saying, you know what, I was wrong in the way that I approached our relationship, and I acknowledge and understand that I was literally just asking you to come over to my place, watch Netflix, and basically get you to pay for Uber Eats while I jackrabbit myself inside of you. And that's inappropriate for what I know you deserve, okay? A guy who can take accountability can recognize how he mistreated you and how his approach needs to be adjusted because that wasn't the right approach for the relationship and that was unfair to you. Now, someone who's an accountability avoidant will purposely try to get back into your life without having to have that conversation with you, without having to acknowledge his wrongdoing, without having to be honest with you about where he went wrong or the adjustments he could make. He's going to attempt to get back into your life and get back into your good graces and get you back talking with him and hanging out with him without actually ever acknowledging that he did anything wrong. Because if he were to acknowledge that he did something wrong, well, then that would mean he would need to make an adjustment. That would mean he's acknowledging that there's an adjustment even to be made. But if he's able to get back into your life without having to acknowledge that adjustment required, then he can continue doing the exact same thing over and over again while you sit, complain, but nothing ever changes. They never want things to change, which is why they avoid taking accountability. Taking accountability is also acknowledgement that I need to make a change. And the moment he stops taking accountability, he never has to acknowledge that a change needs to be made. They begin realizing that rather than apologizing to you, all they got to do is be strategic about how they hop back into your life with either a fake apology, an insincere apology. So rather than apologizing to you or coming out and telling you, hey, you know what, I did you wrong, and you know what, I apologize for the way that I treated you and how I disrespected you and didn't take this relationship seriously, he's going to know that if he sees you at that party and you have a couple of shots in you and he comes up to you and offers you a shot, or he comes up to you and he makes a little sly little joke, inside joke with you, that you're going to laugh, you're going to become weak, and you're going to fold. And just that fast, he's going to be able to talk to you again, get back into your good graces by saying, hey, so you think you're too good for me now? Or, hey, you think you're too cool for me now? You got all big on me now, right? He's going to make one of those slick jokes and you're going to laugh at it, and then he's going to laugh about it, and then he's going to just go on like nothing ever happened. And just that fast, he's back into your life without ever having to take accountability for his actions or admit to any wrongdoing. You know who that benefits? That benefits him. You know who that hurts and doesn't benefit? It doesn't benefit you. Number 2 is what we're going to discuss as being emotionally blind. There becomes a point where when you get into a relationship, or when you become serious about building a relationship, you come to the realization that my life is not just about me. Now, if you're not actually serious about building a relationship, you're still in the selfish mindset where everything's about me and what I want and what I care about. And if I don't care about it or I don't want it, then it doesn't matter. When a man is really prepared to be in a relationship, he begins to build the skill set to be able to say, despite what I care about, despite what matters to me, it's not important if I'm not upset or I'm okay with what's going on. If she's my woman and she's not okay with what's going on, or she's upset, there does come a time where I have to put aside my own feelings or my own desires or needs in order to serve her so that she can go back to a state of homeostasis and be happy again. That's why they make the statement, happy wife, happy life. We got to deal with it sometimes that we're not always going to get our way. And sometimes it's more important for our woman to be satisfied and happy than it is for us to always get our way all the time. You're going to have to gain the skill set and ability to step yourself in your wife's shoes. Yeah, what she says might not make sense. Yeah, why she's angry might not make any sense to you and might not have any logic in it. But it doesn't matter, because that's your wife and that's the woman that you care about. And her happiness is what should be most important to you aside from anything else. So when I say emotionally blind, what I'm referring to is a man who cannot step himself outside of his own shoes and put himself in your shoes. So when you're upset, he can't possibly fathom that you could be upset for reasons outside of what he thinks is logical, reasonable, and rational. Accept the idea that he may have wronged you, even though he might feel like he didn't wrong you. He can't possibly put himself in your shoes and acknowledge the fact that you're still going to be upset, whether or not it makes sense, whether or not it's logical or rational. And the reality of it is, rather than focusing on how little it makes sense or how it's your fault for being upset, he figures out a solution to that, or how to compromise with you, or how to get you back to being happy again. The men that cannot do that are emotionally blind. So let me give you an even more specific example of that so that you can understand exactly what I'm trying to say here. You're going out to a party with a guy. He's having a conversation with this girl. He's like smiling and giggling, and they're like touching each other, and they're hugging each other super tight as they're talking. And you're like somewhere with one of your girlfriends getting like a drink and chatting, but you can see from the corner of your eyes across the room, like he's having this really, really animated conversation with this girl that he's known since before he knew you. And you're thinking to yourself, gee, I'm looking at that, and yes, he's not cheating on me. Yes, he's not necessarily doing anything wrong, but just the way he's having that conversation, it's just so laughy, so giggly. They're like all up on each other. They're not kissing or anything, but just that closeness and the way they're talking makes me uncomfortable. So then on the ride back after the party, you're kind of upset and you're kind of annoyed. You let him know the situation that kind of upset you or rub you the wrong way or whatever it may be. And he says to you, well, why are you upset about this situation? It doesn't make any sense why you're upset. That's just my friend. That's always been my friend. And you shouldn't have an issue with me having a conversation with my friend. These are the type of things that make a man emotionally blind, because yes, it is just his friend. Yes, it is just a conversation. But because he doesn't have the ability to say, you know what? it's not just about me. I have to step outside of myself and be able to see things from her perspective and understand, or at least try to understand, why she could be upset. What about what I did or how I acted or how I approached that situation made her unhappy or sad or angry or triggered her. And even if from my perspective, if it was the other way around, I wouldn't have a problem with it, still, I can acknowledge that your feelings are validated and I understand where you're coming from. And so I will make an adjustment based on what you feel rather than basing it on what I think is right or if I'm upset or not. Because for a lot of people, it's very easy to feel wrong and feel like someone to fix or adjust their behavior when you're the one that's upset. But for a lot of people, especially the guys, it's a lot harder for them to step outside of themselves when they're not the one upset, when they're not the ones that are angry, and say to you or someone else who is upset at them, yeah, okay, I get where you're coming from. I need to understand how to make an adjustment. Because it's important to you, it becomes important to me. Any man that you're going to meet is not going to be perfect. So they're all going to make mistakes. They're all going to do things that make you unhappy. You're not looking for a perfect man who doesn't make mistakes. What you're looking for is a man who can be accountable and a man who can make adjustments and a man who can put himself in your shoes and hear you out when you communicate to him the reasons that you're upset. For a lot of you, when a guy comes back into your life, you're not thinking to yourself, okay, what's going to make this different? What's going to make this not end the same way that it did before? If a guy comes back into your life with no plan, if a guy comes back into your life with no course of action, or a guy comes back into your life with any one of these quality traits that we talk about in the show, well, you're not going to be able to sustain a long-term relationship. Whether he comes back once, whether he comes back 100 times or 1,000,000 times, you're still going to see the same end result. Number 3, you cannot work with a guy who is romantically unmotivated. If you're in a relationship with a guy, there's a couple of realities that need to be faced, okay? If he's in a relationship with you and he's supposed to be attracted to you physically and emotionally, you're gonna want attention. Of course, you're gonna want him to care and see you and compliment you and all that good stuff. That doesn't make you a bad person. But here's the thing. You need to identify within your relationship and the guy that's trying to come back into your life if he is romantically unmotivated. Because here's the thing that some of you are gonna face, and I'll give you an example of this. Some of you are gonna be in situations where the guy that you're trying to date literally doesn't want to do anything with you. For example, some of you are frustrated that the guy that you want and you want to build with never asks you out on any date. All he wants to do is sit at home and sit on the couch and watch movies and have pineapples with you. And you're sitting there wondering, well, what can I do to get him to want to go out? Because every time I mention going out, every time I mention doing something nice, he just says, oh, I'm too busy, or oh, I'm too tired. You're in a situation where the guy that you're dating is romantically unmotivated because, yeah, we're all tired. Yeah, we all have work. Yeah, we all have things to do. Yeah, we all like to relax. But the thing about it is, a man who is romantically motivated, it doesn't matter how tired he is. It doesn't matter how many hours he's worked. He wants to do something for you because he likes you, he wants ya, and he wants to impress you. So here's the issue that some of you are going to face with the guy that's coming back into your life or you're on this hamster wheel with, is he is romantically unmotivated. So he literally cannot do anything more than the absolute bare minimum for you. So you're frustrated because you're thinking, how do I get my boyfriend to act like a boyfriend? I think mine's broken. I can't wind it up properly because I see other girls go taken out on dates and fancy gifts and all this stuff, and he'll treat her right and he'll give her surprises. And I'm sitting here like, I would love it for us to just like go out to like McDonald's together. I would be perfectly fine for that because I don't even get that. All I get is sitting at home and I get Uber Eats and I pay for the Uber Eats and we watch the Netflix on my account. That's one of those character traits that you can't do anything with. There's nothing you can do to build off of that. That's not like a pet peeve character trait. That's not like oh, I just don't kind of like that, or that just kind of bothers me. That's one of those character traits where you literally cannot work with or grow a relationship out of. It's like inhabitable soil. You're going to be the one having to be the boyfriend and the girlfriend. You're going to have to give yourself princess treatment while simultaneously giving him princess treatment. You can't work with that. See, when guys start asking you to do the work for him, and if you're going to plan all the dates, you might as well date yourself. Why are you dating a man who's going to make you plan all the dates? It don't make a damn bit of sense. And so I say that to say, you want to be the woman, you want to be the one getting princess treatment, and you want to be the feminine energy in your relationship, but you can't do that if your man is romantically unmotivated, because the reality of it is you're never going to be able to get him to be motivated if he's internally romantically unmotivated. And some guys are like that, where they just don't have the motivation to do anything for the woman that they're with. Now, that doesn't mean that they'll never have romantic motivation, because I'm sure some of you have noticed being with the guy who was romantically unmotivated with you, but then you see him start dating another girl and all of a sudden he's doing the absolute most for her. So I want you to be aware whether you're actually receiving that from a guy or whether you're with the guy that's just romantically unmotivated with you. Number 4 is what we're going to describe as directionless dating. Some of you are going to notice that when you're in a situation with a guy, you guys break up and he comes back to you for the second, third, fourth, or fifth time. That every time you guys come back to each other, there is a lack of direction in where things are supposed to be going or what we're establishing here. One of the biggest issues that you can face is a lack of clarity. Why? Because when you don't have clarity, you're confused, you're in limbo, you don't know where to go, you don't know where things stand, and you can't properly move forward with your life, but you also aren't going to get what you want from that guy. Meanwhile, that guy usually gets to utilize that time of confusion for you and do a whole bunch of silly stuff and BS behind your back and in front of you, and even when you catch him, he gets to pass it all off on the confusion that both of you are suffering from in this relationship because neither of you understand what's going on. Let's say you are with the guy for a couple of months and you guys have a couple of fights and disagreements, and so you guys end up breaking up. Now, a couple of, let's just say 2-3 weeks goes by of no contact, and then all of a sudden you guys get back together and start talking again. Now, there is no reestablishment of, hey, we were once dating, but now we're not dating anymore. But now that we're back together, we're literally working towards dating again, and we're just trying to figure out if we can work this thing out, but we're locked in. We're not here to mess around. See, directionless dating is when guys come back into your life, but they don't want to acknowledge any path forward towards a destination. The destination should always be, if he's coming back into your life, hey, we're here to build this relationship back up better than it was before. But here's the really tricky part, is that a lot of guys recognize that they can actually get their cake and eat it too by dating you, messing up, taking some space from you, coming back into your life, and then rekindling this relationship, but not making it clear to you that this is meant to be a serious relationship, because it hasn't been long enough that you have forgotten about him, but it's also been such a short amount of time that in the process of you guys taking this kind of pause here, your feelings for him still exist. When you guys get back together after this relationship ended the first time, you easily jump back into resuming the way that you guys were doing your relationship before. So if, let's say for the sake of example, you were in a year-long relationship with this guy, you were living at his place and you were washing his clothes, cooking him dinner and all that good stuff. And then when you guys broke up, you moved out and you didn't see each other for like 3 or 4 weeks, and then you guys came back and started talking again, and now you're sleeping over at his place again. What do you think you start doing the moment you start sleeping at his place again? You start washing his underwear, cleaning the countertop. When you come back in that capacity and you give him that girlfriend treatment once again, there is no establishment of the fact that you guys are now back in a serious relationship. In fact, you guys getting back now, you've only discussed some of the issues, but never discussed a path forward. So now you're back treating the guy who was once your boyfriend like he's your boyfriend, but you don't have the title of girlfriend like you once had when you were actually his girlfriend. He goes out and he talks to whoever he wants. He sees a nice pretty girl with a nice fat dump truck and he takes her back to his house and he sleeps with her. And one way or another, you find out that he slept with this girl. And when you confront him, you want to know what he says to you. He says, "But we ain't together though. But we never said we're dating again. We just said that we were working on our issues. What's the problem? We're not a thing. We're just seeing where things go." So then you're thinking to yourself, I'm starting to glitch, because you're like, wait a second, he's technically right, but this feels so wrong because I know deep down in my soul this is not okay. As I'm trying to present to him why this is not okay, he's actually making truthful points that we're not in a relationship. So then you start feeling like a complete idiot because you're saying to yourself, why am I here confused about where things stand, and why am I here allowing this man to do whatever he wants and sleep with whoever he wants, but I'm committing myself fully to him? You're thinking to yourself, how am I going to pull myself out of this? Because I don't want to talk to any other guy. I don't want to sleep with any other guy. But now he's literally telling me that he has an excuse and a get out of jail free card to be able to sleep with whoever he wants and do anything with whoever he wants whenever he wants. And I'm basically here left not being able to say anything or address anything and continue to be in limbo. You're in a situation where you're directionlessly dating. You need to be identifying patterns in whether or not he is someone who directionlessly dates. Directionless dating is not just guys pretending like they want to date you and then sleeping with you and then saying, oh yeah, it was all a lie. It's also the guys that will convince you, hey, we are friends. Me and you are just friends. Meanwhile, they'll proceed to treat you like a girlfriend. That's still a version of directionless dating. The fact that he doesn't make it clear why he's treating you this way and what the end goal is confuses you. And that confusion, like I said, only leads to heartache, only leads to pain, only leads to suffering. So you don't take guys back who are going to approach it that way. Number 5 is what we call the complacency mindset. See, similar to when I talked about a man who is emotionally unmotivated, a man who has a complacency mindset will constantly be thinking about how to do the absolute least. And he will be happy just doing enough for your relation, for his life, and for your relationship to barely survive. The problem with the complacency mindset is down the road, as your relationship gets longer and longer and longer lasting, you have to be looking for new ways as a partner to reinvent your relationship and continue pouring that spark into it. When you begin to adopt the complacency mindset, not only will you stop trying to put your best foot forward in the relationship, but you'll also stop trying to be the best version of yourself in this relationship. You'll stop taking care of yourself. You'll stop thinking about how to be a great partner, how to be an attractive partner, how to seduce your partner, how to be intimate with your partner, all these things that matter in order to create a long-lasting, sustainable relationship. A guy with a complacency mindset will not be thinking of, because he's only thinking about how to continue it on the bare minimum, doing the absolute least amount of effort required to sustain this relationship. He's not thinking about how to put his best foot forward. Putting your best foot forward isn't just about doing the right things sometimes. Isn't just about surprising your partner or thinking of them or thinking how to make your relationship more spicy and exciting sometimes. It's about constantly thinking about how to bring something new in your relationship. Try something new in your relationship. Have you ever heard two old couples say that, hey, part of the reason that we broke up was because we lost our spark in our relationship? We lost that fire in our relationship. That's what happens when people become complacent, because they stop thinking about how to be the best version of themselves or the best partner. They stop thinking about how to bring that fire or that spark by trying new things and continuing to date their partner. Because it's easy to date someone when you first start dating them, but when you've been with them for years, it's a lot harder to continue dating them and keep that excitement alive. The reason that I bring this up is because when you're thinking about taking a man back, when you're really considering what he brings to the table and whether or not this is a good idea to bring a man back into your life, you need to be thinking to yourself, what type of mindset do you even bring to this relationship? Do I constantly have to drag you along and get you to want to do things, get you to want to be the best version of yourself in this relationship, get you to want to actually put your best foot forward here, be thinking of fun things to do, even if outside of just going out on dates and going on fancy dinners? Are you actually thinking about how you can make this relationship better? Or are you only thinking about how to just keep this relationship coasting and never trying to like try something new or escalate it or grow our bond or grow our connection here. When a guy has a complacency mindset, you'll be the one doing all of that work, trying to get him motivated, trying to get him to realize, hey, we can't just sit around and pretend like we have a relationship because we say we're boyfriend and girlfriend. That actually requires work. That actually requires us to date. That actually requires us to like put in effort into being girlfriend and boyfriend. There's so much more intimacy. There's so much more romance. There's so much more everything required for our connection with each other. That's not just you jackrabbiting yourself inside of me. You shouldn't even bother allowing guys like that back into your life because you're not going to be able to build with those men. You can't sprout a seed out of soil where the man that you're with has a complacency mindset and he wants to do the bare minimum with everything. And that includes not just the romance, it also includes for his own life as well. Because some men that you meet will have a complacency mindset when it comes to their approach to their own life. They want to do the bare minimum, work the bare minimum job, have the bare minimum hours. You know what else they have when they work a bare minimum job and bare minimum hours? They have bare minimum money, bare minimum opportunities, bare minimum resources, bare minimum freedom. And you know who are some of the most unhappy people on this planet? Are people with bare minimum freedom, bare minimum resources, bare minimum opportunities, especially the men with the bare minimum of all of those. He'll bring that mindset to his life. He'll have a complacency lifestyle. And because his lifestyle is the bare minimum, he'll be a quite unhappy camper. And who do you think is going to be the one dealing with all of that unhappiness that is derived from him internally because of where his life is at? Because of his lack of a desire to do anything with his life, he has nothing in his life. So then how is he supposed to feel like a man or feel like someone who can actually do something for you when he knows deep down in his heart he can't even do anything for himself?